Two people found each other in a doorway in Manchester and made 5 years of music that people are still building their whole personalities out of. And then spent 40 years refusing to be in the same room. 10 moments. Not in order of when they happened. In order of how much damage they did. Brothers to enemies. And I am not picking a side. I love the records too much for that. Number 10. The man who held it together walked away, and nobody replaced him. Here is a name most people never learn, and I think that is a genuine shame. Joe Moss. Joe Moss ran a clothing business in central Manchester called Crazy Face. Johnny Marr walked in as a teenager and introduced himself, more or less, as a frustrated musician. Moss was 20 years older. He handed the kid a guitar and asked him to play. And by Moss's own account, that was that. He was gone. Completely won over. And here is the part that stopped me cold when I found it. It was Joe Moss who put the idea in Johnny's head to go and knock on Morrissey's door in the first place. Marr said that himself years later when Moss died. Without Joe, there is no Smiths. Not a version of them. None. Moss found them rehearsal space. Moss found them equipment. Moss put his own money in when literally nobody else was interested. He steered them into the deal with Rough Trade. And then, in late 1983, with the debut album finished, with This Charming Man climbing the charts, on the eve of the band's first trip to America, Joe Moss quit. And I know how that sounds. A manager leaves. Managers leave. Stay with me, because this is the crack that everything else pours through. Because what nobody in that band understood at the time was that Joe Moss was not the business guy. Joe Moss was the adult. He was the shock absorber. He was the one who could stand between two very young, very strong-willed people and take the pressure off both of them. He left, and nothing ever took his place. Number 9. A 23-year-old guitar player was running the whole operation. I love this one, and I love it in the way you love something that is also a little bit heartbreaking. Because for years, everybody had their pet theory about why the Smiths ended. Ego, jealousy, Morrissey being difficult, Johnny wanting out.
I was staring at a sheet of paper with only one name on it. The Smiths.
And then Johnny Marr sat down with The Guardian in 2016 and gave a much less romantic answer, and it is so obviously the true one that you feel silly for not seeing it. They kept firing managers. And every single time they fired one, Johnny had to deal with the fallout. And eventually there was nobody left, so Johnny just did it. He ran the band. The bookings, the label, the money, the arguments, all of it. He was 23 years old, and he put it perfectly. He said he has never in his life met anyone who thinks a major rock group should be managed by the 23-year-old guitar player. And then he said the thing that lands like a stone. It's what split the band up. I need you to sit with what that actually means day to day. It means the same person who wrote the riff to This Charming Man was also on the phone about accounting. It means the guy who is supposed to be the creative engine is also the guy who has to say no. It means every time Morrissey wanted something, the person he had to fight was not a manager in an office somewhere. It was his best friend. And I know you have had some version of this. Maybe not a band. Maybe a business, maybe a house you shared, maybe a family thing. The moment a friendship starts having to carry logistics, the moment somebody has to be the one who says we cannot afford it, it changes the temperature of a room permanently. They asked one kid to be the artist and the adult at the same time, and he burned out doing it. Let's look at the numbers. Only 9% of you are actually subscribed. Honestly, that's tough to see. Our team spends days hunting down archives and verifying every single fact just to tell these stories right. If you've made it this far into the video, you're clearly part of the community, so please hit subscribe. It costs nothing and helps us immensely. Now, for those already subscribed, very few of you have made the jump to our membership, and that's a hard pill to swallow because you're the ones who know our value best. If this channel has moved you or inspired you, consider joining. It's the price of one coffee, but it's the literal fuel for this channel. Let's keep this alive together. Back to the story. Number 8. The Note on the Windscreen, early 1986.
Take me out tonight.
Andy Rourke, the bassist, and I will say this as plainly as I can, one of the great melodic bass players of that entire decade, was in serious trouble with heroin. He was arrested, and he was out of the Smiths. Now,
Because I haven't got one.
the way Andy always told it, and he told it for the rest of his life without ever wobbling on it, is that he found out he was fired from a card left under the windscreen wiper of his car. He said he thought it was a royalty check at first, because he recognized the handwriting. It said, "Andy, you have left the Smiths." Goodbye and good luck. I have to stop for a second. Because whatever you think of this band, imagine being 22 and reading that on your own car. He was out for about 2 weeks. 2 weeks, and then he was back.
'Cause it's not my home, it's their home, and I'm welcome no more.
And he played on some of the best music any of them ever made after it. Craig Gannon came in during that stretch. Andy always said in his own words that it was a wake-up call, the worst moment of his life and the thing that started to save him. And here is what makes this a top 8 moment rather than a footnote. Morrissey denies it, publicly, repeatedly, for years.
Here's the both of us to die by.
He has said no such card was ever written by him, and that if one existed, somebody else did it as a stunt. As recently as June of this year, 2026, he was still denying it, still calling it a tired lie, still saying he had never hired Andy and had no right to fire him, because that is the tell.
Take me out tonight.
40 years later, they cannot even agree on what happened. Not the meaning of it, the facts of it. 2 men, same room, same decade, completely different histories. And Andy Rourke died in 2023. So one of the only people who could settle it is gone.
Ask.
Number 7. Smiths to Split, summer of 1987. Johnny is exhausted. Genuinely, medically exhausted. Years of writing, recording, touring, plus the management job nobody should have given him. He tells the band he needs a break. Not an ending, a break. And then the story appears in the NME. Smiths to Split, and Marr found out the way you find out, by reading it. Now here is the detail that I think is the actual heart of this entry, and it is the one that gets skipped. Johnny believed the story had been leaked, and he believed it had been leaked by Morrissey. Whether it was or it wasn't, and I genuinely do not know, and I am not going to pretend to you that I do, the belief itself is the damage. Because from that moment on, one of them is looking at the other and wondering whether the person who wrote his favorite lyrics just went to the press behind his back. You cannot unwonder that. That is not a thing you can walk backward out of. And I know you know this feeling. That specific one, where the argument itself is survivable but the method is not. Where what actually hurt was not what they said. It was finding out how you found out. The other side of it matters too, and I want to be fair here, because that is the whole point of this. Morrissey was reportedly frustrated in his own way that Johnny was playing on everybody else's records, showing up on other people's sessions, spreading himself across half the industry. From where he was standing, the guy who said he needed a break kept finding energy for other people's music. Both of those things can be true. They usually are. That is what makes it a tragedy instead of a villain story. 2 people who used to finish each other's sentences, now reading about each other in the press. Number 6. The politics that made it permanent. I want to handle this one carefully, because this is where people get loud, and loud is not what I am here for. Here is the plain version. The Smiths, in their time, were understood by their audience as a band of a particular political temperature. Anti-Thatcher, vegetarian, Republican with a small r. That was baked into what they meant to people. In the decades since, Morrissey has taken public positions that a lot of that audience found impossible to square with the band they loved. He spoke supportively about Brexit and about Nigel Farage. In 2018, he said he was following a party called For Britain, a small far-right party, and described it as the first time in his life he would vote for anyone. He wore the badge in public. And some record shops in Britain briefly pulled the albums, and Marr has never been quiet about it. In 2016, he told Sky News that his sense of where Morrissey stood on Brexit was one of the reasons the band would not be coming back. In 2019, he said that a Smiths reunion would feature Nigel Farage on guitar. In 2022, he said that the two of them never fell out over politics back then, but they probably would now. And in 2024, when Oasis announced they were reuniting and every Smiths fan on Earth turned around at the same time and said, well? Marr answered a fan on social media by posting a photograph of Nigel Farage. No caption. Nothing else. Okay, I have to be honest. The first time I saw that, I laughed. And then about 4 seconds later, I did not find it funny at all. Because that is the sound of a door being locked from the inside. Whatever you think about any of it, this is the entry where the split stopped being about a band and started being about two men who do not recognize each other anymore. Number 5. 4 Days in 2008. September 2008. Manchester. Johnny is in town. Morrissey is in town. They had not seen each other in about a decade, 10 years, and they decided to go for a drink. Marr wrote about this in his memoir, and it is one of the few passages in that book where you can feel him being careful with something fragile.
Lord knows it would be the first.
They talked about their families, they caught up on personal news, they talked about records they loved, which is what they always did, because that is what they were before they were anything else. Two people who liked the same songs. And then the conversation went somewhere neither of them planned.
Haven't had a dream.
They started talking about actually doing it. Marr's line about that moment has stayed with me for years, and I am going to give it to you exactly. In that moment, it seemed that with the right intention, it could actually be done, and might even be great.
Can make a good man bad.
They got as far as logistics. They would need a new drummer. They talked about how many people it would make happy, and he is right. It would have been a genuinely enormous number of people. He went back to the band he was playing with at the time, the Cribs, and told them he might be doing some Smiths shows. For 4 days, it was real.
Be the first time.
And then Johnny went to Mexico on tour, and when he came back, nothing. He wrote that suddenly there was radio silence, the communication ended, and things went back to how they were, and how he expects they always will be. I think about that a lot, not the reunion, the 4 days.
My life, let me have who I want.
Because if it had never been possible, this would just be a story about two people who did not get on. But it was possible. Briefly, two men in a pub in South Manchester, hugging goodbye, both of them thinking maybe, and then a phone that stopped ringing. That is not a feud, that is a bereavement. Number 4, a B-side. March through May, 1987. The Smiths have finished Strange Ways, Here We Come. Which both Morrissey and Marr have said is their favorite Smiths album. Think about that. Their favorite, the one they both liked best, is the one they did not survive. And the first single off it is Girlfriend in a Coma. Which is, come on, 2 minutes and 2 seconds of the darkest joke in British pop, carried on this lilting, almost sweet guitar figure that Marr has said came out of him and Morrissey both loving the same reggae record. You know this one. We all know this one. But sit with me for a minute, because there were B-sides to record.
But you know I would hate anything.
And Morrissey wanted to cover a Cilla Black song, Work is a 4-letter word. and Johnny Marr hated it. Not disliked, hated. Here is what he said about it years later. And I want you to hear how tired it sounds. He said it was the last straw, that he didn't form a group to perform Cilla Black songs, that he made a decision he was going to get away on holiday, that the only place he could think of was Los Angeles, because it was the only place he knew there would be sunshine. And then the sentence that ends everything: I never saw Morrissey again. That is it. That is how the greatest British songwriting partnership since Lennon and McCartney ends. Not with a fight, not with a scene, with a man booking a flight because he could not do one more day of it. And here is what it did to me. Now, when Girlfriend in a Coma comes on, and it is a song I have loved since I was a kid, I do not just hear the joke anymore. I hear a band recording a single they will never properly tour. I hear the last things they made together, made badly, in a room where two people had stopped talking. Morrissey appears alone in that video. Alone. In the video for a Smiths single. Some records don't just sound good, they know something. And that one knows exactly what was about to happen. Number 3. High Court 1996. Here is the arrangement, and it is the whole case in one line. During the Smiths, the performance and recording royalties were split 40% to Morrissey, 40% to Marr, 10% each to Andy Rourke and Mike Joyce. Joyce and Rourke went to court arguing they were each owed 25%. Rourke settled a reported £83,000 and 10% going forward. And he was in a bad way at the time. Joyce did not settle. Joyce went all the way. It reached the High Court in London in 1996. 7 days, and Joyce won. Around £1 million in back royalties, plus 25% of everything going forward.
Learn to love me, assemble.
But the money is not why this is number 3. The money is not what people remember. What people remember is the judge. Because Justice Weeks did something judges do not usually do. He assessed all 4 of them as human beings, out loud, on the record. Joyce and Rourke he called straightforward and honest. Marr he found engaging and reasonable, the sharpest of the 4. But he also said Marr had a tendency to embroider, to the point of costing himself credibility. And Morrissey, he described with 3 words that have been chained to his name ever since: devious, truculent, and unreliable, when his own interests were at stake. 3 words. 1996. Still quoted in 2026. Marr paid his share and moved on. Morrissey appealed. He lost in 1998. He appealed again. He lost again. He has said the whole thing cost him hundreds of thousands in legal fees alone, and well over $1 million all in. He gave the lawsuit a huge amount of space in his autobiography, and he was still writing about the judge with real venom decades later. And here is the quiet thing underneath all of it. That courtroom put Morrissey and Marr on the same side of a case. Defendants together one last time, and it still didn't bring them back together. If anything, it finished the job. The music made them brothers. The money made them co-defendants. There is no version of that where the friendship survives. Number 2. It never stopped. It is still going. 2022. Morrissey writes an open letter to Johnny Marr on his own website, asking him to stop using his name as clickbait. He says they have not known each other for 35 years, many lifetimes ago. He says Marr should talk about his own career and just leave him out of it. And there is one line in it that I will admit made me laugh out loud, which is that Marr blames him for everything from a tsunami to the dribble on your grandma's chin. Marr's entire response posted on social media: an open letter hasn't really been a thing since 1953. Sweetness, I was only joking. 2024. Morrissey posts that a promoter made a huge offer for the Smiths to tour the world in 2025. He says he said yes. He says Marr ignored it. Marr's reply, "I didn't ignore the offer, I said no." He later explained it about as plainly as a person can.
That by rights you should be bludgeoned in your bed.
He said he is not an idiot and the vibe was not right. Also 2024, Morrissey claims Marr has quietly taken the trademark and intellectual property rights to the Smiths without consulting him, and that Marr blocked a greatest hits release. Marr's people push back. They say the trademark was to stop outside parties cashing in on the name, and that he had offered joint ownership. And then June of this year, 2026, a BBC radio series about the Smiths is announced for July. Morrissey posts an essay on his website called The Art of Forgery. He says he was not invited. He says Marr is presented as an angel and himself as the executioner. He says Marr has deliberately split the audience into factions. He says, and this one is a knife, that 40 years on, Marr cannot do anything with his life but look back. Then he deleted it, as he often does.
As the flames rose to Roman nose and our iPod
Number 1, May 1982, 384 Kings Road, Stretford.
when in this charming car.
An 18-year-old kid walks up to a semi-detached council house in South Manchester. He has not called ahead. He has not written. He has brought a mate with him, Steve Pomfret, because he has been told the bloke inside is shy, and it might help.
On a hillside desolate.
He knocks. Inside is a 22-year-old named Stephen Patrick Morrissey. He lives with his mother. He is unemployed. He is about to turn 23. He has written a book about the New Yorker locally for being quick and clever and unbelievably shy. He later described his own shyness with a phrase you probably know by heart. The kid waits and waits.
This man said it's gruesome that someone so high.
It takes a long time for anyone to come down the stairs, and Marr has said the memory is still completely clear to him. Sunny day. About 1 in the afternoon. No phone call, no warning.
It's too late.
The door opened, and Pomfret took 2 very firm steps backward, which, Johnny said, is one of the things that made him talk so fast. Just pure nerve. Morrissey rang him the next day and said yes. That is it. That is the whole thing.
Much about these things.
One door, one afternoon, 2 people who between them had almost nothing going on, and out of it comes, this charming man, and there is a light that never goes out, and how soon is now, and 4 albums that half the guitar bands of the next 30 years are still trying to reverse engineer. And I put it at number 1 because of this. Every single thing on this list, the lawsuit, the letters, the note on the car, the flight to Los Angeles, 40 years of not speaking, all of it only exists because of that knock. None of it happens without the door. They gave each other the best thing that ever happened to either of them, and neither one of them has ever quite forgiven the other for it. And here is what I keep landing on, and it is not tidy, and I do not think it is meant to be. They can be enemies for the rest of their lives. They can delete posts and refuse offers and give interviews about each other until they are 90. They will still be the 2 people who wrote it. That does not go away. Not for them. Not for us.
A drummed up country boy